our society, it sits on a level of delusion that really heavily affects women and black people. And I point out those two groups because it's so apparent that uh, the social engineers put batteries in those two groups back. You know, they make up a great portion of the left, the political left, whatever you want to call it, progressives, and they get them in great numbers. As many of you may already know, if you look up who women mostly vote for, they're usually mostly left. You know, they're progressive in their thinking, and men, more likely than not, they normally vote right. So men are more traditionalists, and women are more progressive, typically speaking. And I've mentioned that before. I even talked about Adam and Eve, how Eve, she wanted something different. She wanted change, and change could be good, but change also is chaos. You know, and given an option, a lot of younger women will always choose chaos. And people get offended when I say that, but think about chaos compared to order. Chaos is exciting, you know. Chaos is it's not. But order is predictable. Order is mundane. It's routine, and with that, there's some boredom there, and that haunts a lot of women. They have this saying: once the patriarchy went down and the matriarchy's coming up, I noticed they put these sayings, and even in the media, they have this one saying: "Be anything but boring." That's not a masculine saying. That's more feminine. Be anything but boring, because men could sit in the same room, watch the same games, eat the same food. Not all men. I hate saying that. I hate having to say disclaimers, but I'm going to start doing that now. I'll just do that now. But eventually, as people get to, know my content, I don't make disclaimers. I don't even think men, that's part of the campaign to take away manhood from men. Destroying disclaimers. Or rather, having disclaimers. Like, you have to always explain yourself. But anyway, so when it comes to the social engineers, they're really taking advantage and putting batteries in the backs of blacks and the backs of women in a way where women, for example, think they're powerful. They really buy into feminism, and so do blacks. However, women, if we remove them from this cushy environment, like, let's say if you ever watched King Dead or Mad Max Beyond the Thunderdome or Book of Eli, that's a real world. What we live in is delusion. So if you put them in the real world, they wouldn't say these things for a second. They wouldn't utter any of this. Oh, I should be able to wear this. I should be able to do that. That's mostly women not really being responsible to society. That's how a lot of women kind of take it, and that's what feminism does. Feminism creates this thing where women more or less become more like agents of chaos or defiant. That's what it aims to do. That's what Marxism aims to do, period. It aims to make people, to divide people, to make people defiant, to make children defiant, to make black people defiant, because they attack minorities, and black people are representative of perhaps the most well-known or well-marketed minority. That's why black people have the spotlight all the time. They have the spotlight more than any other minority. 12% of the population gets so much attention and believe they deserve so much attention. There's a bunch of people who are disenfranchised, impoverished, and all that. Like many, many different kinds of people. But black Americans, they have this thing where I deserve to be seen. I deserve to be heard. And you're going to hear my story. Like, that's why I told you it's the masculine and feminine principle. The masculine principle, men used to be stoic. Men were still. And they didn't sit around talking about, I deserve this, I deserve that. You got to hear me out. That's all. None of that is masculine. That's all feminine. Men don't have to be seen. Men don't have to be. You gotta listen to me, and you gotta do what I say, and you gotta listen to my woes and my hardship and my. When you watch those old black and white movies, women are tied to the railroad tracks, not men. Women are allowed to be victims, and it's okay. Nobody's gonna say anything. But for men, if you want to practice or cultivate being a man, you have to be more still. You can't just let anybody just frazzle you. And that's exactly how the Democrats have black men and the women. They have women as well. They have them all with feelings and emotions. I seen an exchange between Harvey Weinstein and Larry Elder. Larry Elder, he I believe he produced this movie called Uncle Tom, which was a pretty decent movie, which talked about that term Uncle Tom, where it originated, and how blacks casually use it against other black people when they kind of step out of the line of the typical collective mentality. When they step out and they say, look, why don't we discuss these things that we don't agree with? Why do we have to all think the same? And if we don't think the same, we're considered to be Uncle Toms. So yeah, I know one day I'm gonna write something about this delusion, and the more comfortable people are, the more they lean towards this delusion. I was in a gym yesterday, and this girl that was pretty voluptuous, I'm doing my little curls or whatever, and she walks right in front of me. She has on a cut-off midriff shirt, pink shirt, and little spandex shorts on. Now, she's very voluptuous, huge hips. Like, a lot of times I hear black women tell me, what, white women wear this, but a lot of white women aren't shaped like the black women. And the white women I see that wear these things, usually, they're slim enough to wear it. Their sexual components aren't spilling over. Your sexual components, meaning your breast isn't spilling over, your butt isn't super huge, and then they wear those waist things to make their waist look small, or to make them perspire. And it's very distracting. I mean, men are built to be visual, and we're the aggressors. We approach you, right? And knowing that, women a lot of times, especially if you're dating a girl, you'll hear this. They'll be like, oh, I'm wearing it because it makes me comfortable, or I'm wearing it because it's workout clothes or whatever. But at the same time, I dare to say, if you take two different women, one woman wears that kind of thing, spandex, she bends over, right, to do dumbbell rolls. She's bending over. Now her behind, because people are behind her behind and her stuff is just all out, and she's comfortable with that. When I was young, I remember girls were not comfortable doing those sorts of things. They weren't comfortable showing off their stuff in front of men. But anyway, my point is, take those two girls. Which girl do you think is going to be a good wife right off the bat? And this is what happens in a black community. That sort of thing is destroyed because feminism teaches women to destroy that innocence and goodness within themselves, and not to have shame. It's about that. Be shame, because power is in not having shame. That's what feminism does. Power is in being defiant. That's power to women. Again, if we were to go into Edward Bernays, like, he distorted the game for women in feminism in America. He distorted the entire game. And while these women think they're independent, they're being manipulated, and they don't even realize it. And the same goes for blacks. I mentioned before how I watched this video where a black woman said she made the claim that whites have broken the contract because all these blacks are getting killed by police, even though the stats don't align with whatever she's talking about. But liberalism teaches you to go with your feelings. Everything is feelings. They can't stand the facts. Oh, that's what I was talking about with Larry Elder, right? Going back to that and Harvey Weinstein from TMZ, he destroyed Harvey Weinstein till Harvey Weinstein said something really dumb. He said something like, my friend, you're too busy with the facts or statistics. and you don't really care about humanity or people's feelings. I heard Michelle Obama say the same thing about feelings. Like, the left always tries to use feelings because they can manipulate you, because there's no truth to it. They can just make up truth as they go along. It's like playing a game of Monopoly or some sort of game, and when things don't go your way, you just erase the whole way. Oh, well, let's take this rule out of it. And it's all about winning. And that's what happens when, in every household. Not every single household, but many, many households with a man and a woman. Feminism makes women just want to win. That's it. They don't care about the truth. They don't care about the point you're trying to make. They just want to win. You know, they just want to. They want to show that they're just as intelligent as you. It becomes a competition, and men aren't even thinking about that, but the women are, because of feminism. And some men are. Some men are overly aggressively thinking about that. But I like the way Jordan Peterson says, the more the more equality that's pushed, the further the extremes, the further the poles. So men become more macho or masculine acting, and women become more feminine. Like the extremes, they push their ways out. So yeah, it's kind of counterproductive. Anyway, I just wanted to go on a short rant. I'll probably be on tomorrow, and we'll be discussing something else interesting. How's that? I'll talk to you then.